What's up, lovelies? Welcome to Taboo Tea Time with Kai. I am so excited because we have a guest today who will be joining me and talking about motherhood, expectations versus reality. So here's my guest, Raish. This is my best friend right now. She is 4 months pregnant with her second boy, and so we are so excited to be talking to you today and just sharing our story. Okay, so tell me a little bit about like where you are right now, how's your journey in pregnancy right now, and then we'll kind of go back.
Okay, well right now, I mean everything's new, right? Like nothing that happened on the first one is the same with this one. So I thought I was gonna have a girl because of that. Everything's opposite. The first time I was craving sweet. This time I'm craving spicy. I'm tired all the time because my little one, he just turned 2. So yeah, I mean there's just so much newness to it. I mean nothing can really prepare you anytime for it. So.
Yeah. Nothing prepares you for motherhood whatsoever.
Kind of just going with the flow, you know?
Yeah, so what were some of like the expectations you had like during pregnancy versus like how it actually was when you gave birth and things like that?
Well, I mean, specifically on birth, I mean, clearly that's like the most anxiety-ridden thing for anyone, like the actual giving of birth. But I mean, like once you go through it, you're like, why did I do this? Never again. And then it only takes like a month or 2 before you're like, okay, you know, I could do that again, you know. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be here for round 2, but I mean, there's just so much that like comes with it, and like who knows like what the birth story will be for the next one. So I mean, I think it's beautiful. I love hearing everybody's birth stories because it's so like unique, right, to yourself. Absolutely. You never know like, when are you gonna go into labor? What's it gonna look like? Where you'll be? I thought mine would be in a Starbucks line, you know? Like you never know. And then like it happens and now you have this like unique story to you. So I have no idea for the next one. I'm ready.
What were like some of the expectations you had going into like being a first-time mom and first-time parent?
Oof. I mean, you just think you'll do everything perfect, right? Like I was like, oh, he's just gonna eat so many vegetables. And he's gonna go to bed on time every night. And he's just gonna be perfect, you know? And just nothing can prepare you. They're their own person, right? So he's like, I'm not tired. And I'm like, okay. You know? I mean, he has his own palate. His thing right now is like plain white rice. And I'm like, any nutrients would be great. Like something else, you know? But nothing can like just prepare you for like who they're going to be. You have to adapt to them. And I think that's something I wasn't taking into consideration before. I was like, this is how I'm gonna do it. And he's like, no mom, this is how we're gonna do it. Like, okay, all right, let's adapt, let's do that.
I can definitely like relate to that because I feel like some of the expectations was definitely the eating one. Because I feel like I was like, yeah, he's going to be eating salmon and all of these things and just like eating healthy, and which he does, but also like some chicken nuggets and mac and cheese is like a kid thing, and it's like it's fine, and he's not gonna die because of it. So I think getting used to those things were definitely the expectations for food. It may be like behavior, and not that he's like a horrible child, but like I thought he would just be so like well behaved and put together, and I think that also just like takes away from like being a kid and a toddler, and like they're going to be rambunctious. They're sometimes not going to listen, but it's all about teaching them.
Exactly, and that's one thing I learned too, is that people are very understanding about that. You know, like and even now, like if he's like throwing a tantrum in Target, I'm kind of like looking around a little bit like, oh wow, somebody's judging me. But a lot of times, like people understand, you know. I had a lady the other day, I was standing, I forgot where I was standing in line at, and I was just like struggling with him. She's like, don't worry about it, like my toddler would be worse, like it's okay, you know. And I've grown to learn, like people do understand, like kids are gonna be kids. And we try, we do our best. I try to keep him entertained and this and that, but they're gonna be kids, it's gonna happen. So yeah, going with the flow. We almost got on the airplane before. It didn't work out, but I was so nervous about it, you know, like, oh, how's it gonna be? Is he gonna cry the whole time? I'm gonna have to like apologize to everyone on the plane, but you know, people understand. So
what were some of the like biggest surprises and challenges you faced like once Aiden was born?
You know, I think what people don't tell you is like the challenges that come with the everyday things, right? So for example, I took like the Kaiser class, and they're like, oh, this is how you change a diaper, like this, and you know, and just they don't tell you that he's like kicking and screaming
the whole
as
time
you're doing that, and you're like, if you could just get up, you know, so that kind of thing, you know, like eat food again. It's like, you know, I want him to try something, he'll run away. And it's like, I mean, you guys told me to feed him like great portions and like make sure he's eating his food groups, but you didn't say he'd be scared of food and I have to like chase down a tiny human to do so. You know, so that kind of thing is just like, it sounds so easy, it sounds so simple on paper, and then when you actually have a tiny human in front of you, you're like, oh my god, like why didn't they say that part, you know? So
I feel like nothing prepares you. Like even you can take all the classes, you can read all the books, but like motherhood is very much so like
100%.
a whole journey. You have to figure it out as you go. There really is no playbook to any of it. But I think with the classes and things like that, when you learn, they also didn't tell you like maybe I should have a diaper under it to make sure that he doesn't like pee on me and all of these things. When you have a boy, it's honestly it's a little ridiculous, but
it sounds so simple, and then you get into it, and like I said, it's just like a learning curve, you know. You just have to experience it. And I appreciate everybody, you know, telling me their own testimonies and how things went, but every child is different, you know. It's not gonna happen that way all the time, and
I can, to that point, I feel like before I had Amari, I wasn't saying I was judgy, but not judgy because I think it's so easy to be like, oh, like they're doing that, or you know, because you don't know yet,
right.
And then when you're a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was ever judging her. Her journey is her own,
especially as a first-time parent. If you don't have a kid, like you can try to understand, and I get that, and I appreciate people trying to understand, but sometimes you just don't. Like there's a certain level that you don't get because you're not experiencing that. You know, a big thing of mine before I had Aiden was TV, screen time. I'm like, oh my god, like screens are just melting their brain. Like I would never put him. Now I work from home. It's unrealistic. You know, I'm like, if I need to put on a movie for him to like be okay, you know, it is what it is, and I can do that too. Like I was judgy before, and it's like if you don't have a kid, everybody told me like, okay, we'll see, you know, and I definitely saw.
I always make the joke like Miss Rachel was definitely our third parent, and she she saves our lives because I think in that, just like working from home and trying to balance it all, it's like, yes, I want him to be okay and like not feel like, oh, mommy's just not giving him attention, but also just like, you know, try to pacify him a little bit. And sometimes balancing those things can be difficult, but I mean, you do what you gotta do as a parent, and sometimes I feel bad, but you just, I mean, we're all doing the best that we can to just make it work. So So how did you handle the transition from like pregnancy to becoming a new mom?
With as much grace as I could. I am already in like a high anxiety person. So I feel like the difference that I want to make from like first pregnancy to this one was that I was like so anxious that like it was hard to relax. Like I was so worried about going back to work. I was so worried about what life would look like in a little bit, you know. Whereas this one, I really want to take my time. I really just want to enjoy baby bonding and like getting used to the new family dynamic. I don't want to like rush anything because there's a lot of changes coming, you know. So yeah, I mean, definitely during pregnancy, I just thought everything would be like so smooth and like you would get it right away. And for me, at least, that wasn't the case. You know, everybody's like, you're just gonna have your baby, you're just gonna like know what to do. And I mean, I grew up really not having a bunch of babies around me. So this was I'm like, okay, like what do I say? Hi. How do we talk to you? Hello, person, you know. And it's taken 2 years now to where I'm like, we're so comfortable. But it did not start like that for me, you know. And everybody, you know, is like, oh, you know, you're just gonna have this instant bond, and you're gonna know what your baby wants. And that's not always the case, you know? It took me some time to really get used to that. And now that I'm here and I already have had one, I kind of know what I want to do for the next one, you know?
Did you immediately bond with Aiden?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I definitely didn't immediately bond. Like, I immediately loved him and like was like, oh my gosh, I just birthed this thing that's been growing inside of me. But I think that I felt also so guilty for that not immediate bond. Like, I was just like, dang, like, why don't I feel like just this overjoy? Like, even the way my mom describes like her having me was just like, oh, I was just so in love with you. And I was just like, yeah, like, I love him, like, he's mine, but like I don't know him.
Exactly.
You know, like we just met.
Exactly.
Like, I don't.
And so anyone, it's like you have to take time to like get to know a person, get to know their cues,
Yeah.
get to know what they like, get to know
Yeah.
what makes them laugh, get to know, you know, that kind of thing. Like, it took time to get to know this new person that's in our lives.
Exactly.
You know, it was just Tay and I for the longest time, and now you're just adding this person. And of course we loved him like right off the bat, but it did take time to get to know him and for him to get to know us and to like really get our own flow as a family. So I mean, now we're there and I look back and I'm just like, oh, like I couldn't imagine life without him.
Exactly.
You know, but it took a minute, you know. And that's okay. I definitely felt that guilt too. I'm a very standoff person, so I kind of already knew that like I wasn't gonna be, I don't know, like lovey-dovey in the beginning, but I mean, I was a new mom, you know, a new little thing, and we really learned together. So and now I'm excited. The next one, I'm like,
So what does like a typical day look like for you?
Like a work day or like a hangout day?
Let's say a work day first, because I feel like we kind of went on that.
I mean, a work day, I make it work. I mean, one thing that people always ask me is they're like, how do you work from home? I'm like, you make it work, you know? Like, yeah, sometimes that means I have to wake up a little bit earlier to like knock out some work before he wakes up. And then he wakes up and I, you know, take a break really quick to like give him breakfast and like get him dressed for the day, that kind of thing. And then I'm back to it, you know? If I have to, again, work while he plays with his toys or work while he's watching a movie, I'll do that. Like, I just really try to be present at work and still be with him. So if that means I'm sitting on the floor with my laptop while he's playing, then so be it, you know? Do
you feel like he notices I guess like the difference? Does it feel like he knows that you're not being present?
I mean, I definitely have the guilt sometimes of like, well, we can't go outside right now. Because I have to work.
I hate that one.
You know, that's
outside.
a big one. Right, exactly. So like, I definitely have that guilt, but I try to accommodate in the best way that I can, right? So if that means like on lunch, we're going on a walk real quick. Or when Tay gets home from work, now we can all walk to the farmer's market. So it's about balance. On the weekends, I try to take him out. I do take breaks to like make sure that I play with him. And it is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, like, but I just make it work in the best way that I can. You know, so sometimes you have to grab him a little bit. If I'm on a meeting, I'm like, here's a piece of chocolate. Let's sit and be quiet, right? 5 minutes. But
I'm alright that we take bribes for sure.
No.
He's like, hi! To my boss, and I'm like, dude, chill.
I let the intros go. I do let him say hi, and then I'm like, okay, no, take a seat. And hopefully, you know, the older that they get, the more they'll understand. They're like, okay, give me 10 minutes. You know? Right now, we're not there. He just like wants to see what's going on, kind of thing. Especially if I'm talking to the computer. So I thank my boss all the time for like just the flexibility of being able to work from home, because childcare is so expensive. I mean, it really is. We live in California, like that's already a strike against us. We have a child, so that's a strike against us. Child care on top of that, like it's expensive. So I definitely am grateful to be able to work from home, still provide, still see my child grow up day to day, you know.
So you mentioned Tay, so that's your husband. How has he been as like a new dad and like going to be a dad of two? Like, how has he been supportive and things like that?
I mean, definitely a learning process, right? Like, I mean, going from not being a parent at all to being a parent, it's challenging. And then you're your own person too. I can say the biggest things that Tay and I have worked on with Aiden challenging us is our patience. You know, like having patience with a kid is so much different. You know, because you just have to let things go. You know, sometimes you have to be like, he's only 2.
Yeah.
You know, or he like smacks you in the face. You're he's only 2. You know, so it's like the patience, definitely. But I've definitely seen him grow, and seeing Aiden grow up and like get that bond with Tay has been just amazing. And I think the older that he gets, the more he'll get into the stuff that Tay likes to do, and they can do everything together. We just went to Disneyland and they both got lightsabers, so now they wake up and they're just like, you know, playing their swords, you know, so I think that part is nice, to be able to see them have their bond.
Is he a mama's boy? No.
Tay?
No.
I mean, to a certain extent, I'm kind of jealous because everybody said he would like naturally be a mama's boy. I think he kind of likes Tay better than me. He was using me in the beginning for food, and now he's just like Tay's shadow. Like Tay walks over there, Aiden's behind him.
Gotcha.
You know, like he's definitely into Tay. As soon as he leaves, Dada, Dada, you know, and I'm like, mamas are here. It's okay.
As much as we want our space, we're like, please don't forget about us.
Right.
Like, I think Amari's making a transition to Dada for sure. Like he's definitely always been attached to my hip, which like I think one of the expectations that I also had was that I was still going to be able to live my life, and that being very different. Like I not being able to like go to the bathroom by myself.
Oh,
like
100%.
So you're gonna be right here? Wow.
Right.
Okay.
We do this
together.
We do it
together. Okay, great. We'll just learn words. Potty. Like we'll just make this a learning time. But yeah, I definitely think he's like making a transition to Dada, which is great because I feel like seeing, like you said, like seeing that bond that they're creating, and then when they get a little bit older, like him saying things, and like I see him like watching football with him, and I'm just like, oh, I love this. So I definitely think that seeing Mario grow as well as a parent, and like I remember the first night we were at the hospital, he was like, okay, like let's go home, and I was like, we need one more night here. The nurses are here. We're not going anywhere. Like we have help now, and when we go home, the little baby comes with us, and like it's just me and you. So we're gonna stay here one more night. And I remember the first night at the hospital, he was like, he stayed up the whole night, and he didn't realize that like when the baby's sleeping, he can also sleep. He was like, no, we have to watch him like the whole time. And so I was knocked out, and he's just.
That's like, so funny that I think it's like honestly the dads are really attached. I mean, in the beginning, like when we wanted like to go out for a weekend or even just like go to dinner, I'd be like, oh, look, maybe we can have one of our moms come over. He's like, no, we'll take them with us. Okay, like you don't want to just like get an hour by yourself. So no, you can come with us. So I definitely think like Tay had the harder time letting even our moms, you know, watch him, and like we step back. I remember even the first couple times we went out, like we would close the door, and then like Tay's just like standing at the door like, with his ear there, making sure like he's not crying and like he's okay before we go out. You know, and we went to your birthday party. Before we got on the boat, he's like, just call your mom and check in. Like before we get on and we're in the water, just to make sure he's okay. I'm like, we saw him like a half hour ago. Like I'm sure he's fine. Or she would call. He's like, just call him. Make sure. Okay, Dad. I'm not gonna fight you on that one. You know?
I think when we were like doing stuff like that, I think he was good. Like he wouldn't. I think he was chill, but. Even to this day, we still haven't like let him sleep over at all at anyone's house. That's like a no. Like he was like, we'll go to Vegas, and like, are we taking him with us? And he's like, no, we're not. We need at least. He's almost 2. Like we need at least one little vacation where we just have like a night, even if it's just a night. I still don't think I'll be able to do it, but I'm still putting it out there. Like we can't do this vacation.
I mean,
with him.
eventually you'll have to. That part will come, but I do.
What's your hesitation though?
Just, I guess I just like know how he is. So imagining like my mom having to deal with him in the middle of the night, or he'd wake up and we're not there, or you know, I would write out a whole list. Like he wakes up, within 10 minutes he gets a banana. You know, like make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Then brush his teeth. You know, get him dressed. You have to brush his hair. He likes 5 minutes, no less. You know, we have like our thing.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard for him. Well, for me to like, I guess like cope with that. He'll be in a different routine for
and that he'll be
like,
okay. I feel like I'm like we have our routine. He won't be okay if we don't do the routine, which like maybe is not realistic. But we have like this lion poster right above his light switch, and he turns off the light switch. So he goes lion. I say, what sound does the lion make? He says roar, and then he turns off the light, and he knows. And then he grabs my phone and he turns on his little night light with the hat.
So it's like
that, exactly. Which again maybe isn't realistic, but that's what it feels like, especially when you've worked so hard to get that routine. And it's like, well, he's used to that. I don't want him to feel like he's not comfortable because that isn't the thing. So I'm already thinking like, okay, so we're gonna have to print out a cutout lion because he's gonna need that above the light switch so it could be the same. And then I'm gonna have to bring the hatch, and like I'm gonna just have to break down the crib. And like
for the very first time, if Tay and I did go away for the night, someone would have to come to our house.
Okay.
Like I couldn't let him go somewhere else
because my family don't do dogs, so yeah.
But I'm like, if you come here, he could sleep in his own bed. He can wake up and like know his surroundings because I don't think it would just be much farther if it was at somebody else's house.
Yeah.
So and luckily my family understands that. You know, pretty much for the most part, like if somebody babysits Aiden, they're coming to us, and we're from there. Yeah, so he's more comfortable. He has his choice. He has his, you know.
Okay.
So, that's how we do it right now.
Okay, so you talked about your family and kind of how they've been a great support system. So talk to me a little bit more about that. Like what role have they played in taking care of Aiden or just being like loving and supporting?
Well, okay, yeah. So for one, Aiden is one of the first grandchildren, at least on my side.
Yeah.
So my family is jumping to help out, be there when they can, buy him anything he wants in the store, so they're very supportive in that way. And then on Tay's side, he has so many siblings. All of them are most of them have kids now. So it's just been nice to have kind of like mentors. Corey, she's very, like, I go to her for advice, and she can provide a lot of that. She already has 2 boys, so it's nice, like, when things happen, to be able to, call them out and be like, what's going on, Tay's sister, Jazz, she's also very supportive. I remember one of my first memories after we had Aiden is Jazz, like, kind of standing over my shoulder, like, watching me change a diaper and just, like, making sure I'm doing it right. And I'm like, is this all right? She's like, yeah, girl. So, yeah, we just have so much family that, everyone's just there all the time, and I think that's great. Aiden really needs that, too. Like, he was very antisocial in the beginning. He really had to get used to kids, and luckily he has a plethora of cousins, so our family's been great. My mom always wants to be there. Anytime we need a babysitter, she's like, of course. Yeah. Of course. Like, you don't have to ask me twice, everybody's been great. My brother, even, he'll come and, if it's a day that he can be there and I'm working from home, that's just one person that can, take Aiden outside for a walk and, like, get him out for a minute. So I think everybody's been super helpful. But like I said, he's one of the first grandchildren on my side. Yeah. So, oh my goodness.
We were the first on both sides. So it was great and overwhelming and all of the things. But it's definitely like I said from the very beginning, even at our baby shower, like, it was so wonderful to see everyone in one room and just like know that they were going to support and love on my baby. Because I think that's something that is scary, and I think that as your unit, you're going to love and care for your baby, of course, right? But when you have the village that is like set up to really like love on and support you in the way that you're going to need it, is like so important. Like for me, my mom and my grandma have just been amazing. My mom takes care of him 2 days a week, my grandma 1 day a week, and then Mario's mom like on the weekends and things like that when we want to get out.
It doesn't get better than that.
100%. It's been a whole group effort, and like I really honestly I don't think we could have done it without them. And like there's just so much like love that he has around him that I honestly couldn't have asked for like a better situation. I think the way that they love him, I think even just thinking about how I was raised, like, and seeing the relationships that he has is just so like different in the best way.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter the relationships I have with like any other family member, whether that's good or bad. I think the way that they treat him and love on him is like the best.
And it's awesome right now. Like there's just so many generations that can be there. I mean, for you, your granny is his great grandma, and to even have that time to get to have together. On my side, Aiden has his great grandpa, you know, on my dad's side. So just every time we're there, like taking pictures of them. Because I'm like, it's just like the generational thing.
I mean, the fact that Amari was able to meet his great grandma before she passed was insane. Just like, I never thought that would happen, but I also was like somewhat strategic about this plan. Because I remember thinking like, wait, I mean, probably when I was like 18, like I want to get pregnant by like 24, because I also knew that like my family was like relatively young, and I knew that I wanted her to meet him. So I feel like I manifested this moment where I was like, I really want her to see my son or see my daughter or whatever, and it happened before she passed. So I love that. So kind of transitioning into like, what do you do for yourself? Like what does self-care look like for Ryan? Like I know you said you wake up sometimes earlier than him, but like do you do anything for yourself before then? Or like what does that look like when you try to...
I mean, honestly, that's one area I can always get better at, you know? I feel like now I'm just thinking of so many other things, and so many other people come before me. And I know that's not the best mindset, but that's like my reality right now, right? So it's like, for me, I would say the biggest thing is friendship, and like being able to lean on people like when you need a break. Other than that, Tay and I have a very good communication with like when we need breaks, you know, so sometimes, you know, if he's taking Aiden to see his mom, you know, then maybe I won't go and I'll just like stay home so that I can like sit in silence for a second. Or I know we hang out a lot and we'll go to the farmer's market, and then I'll be like, okay, well, I'll take Aiden, you relax for a little bit, you know. But for me, that's like as far as it goes. It's just like getting that quiet time, getting that reset time. But then, you know, sometimes I'm at home and I'm like, well, what can I clean? How can I get ready?
That's 100% me. I don't think that, the cleaning is a big one, because I feel like as soon as I clean something, Amari's like,
it's gonna happen. Like
I'm like, great, amazing.
It's gonna happen.
I don't even know why I tried. And I just do it like at the end of the night, because I know that's the best time to do it. But I think for me, well, when I was pregnant, I would do like I had a routine, like down packed. Like I would wake up early and I would do yoga and meditation, and that at that point I was going into the office 5 days a week. So I would do yoga and meditation before I ever went to work, and that honestly was, I think that played a huge like role into like my birth and all of those things. I think it really helped me learn how to breathe, which like made my birth a lot easier. But I think it just grounded me. I think it made a lot of the stressors that came with like being a new mom and wondering if I was going to be a good mom, all those things, it helped ground me.
Clear your mind. Do you still have time to do that, or?
No. But also, I mean, he just like really started sleeping through the night, so I feel like for me, I wasn't gonna wake up earlier than he already gets up to do something for myself. It just wasn't gonna happen. So I think it's hard because like on the weekends, like I could maybe take a little bit more time for myself, but then it's like, well, I was busy all week and I wasn't as present as I want to be. So like, I'll be damned if I like on the weekend try to get time for myself, because it's then that's your mommy time, like that's your daddy time or whatever. So it's like I really don't want to be doing it then. So that's kind of like my struggle. I think I've been trying to find times at night, but then it's like, well, now I'm too sleepy, or so like I don't know. I haven't found the thing yet. I just know that when I'm too overwhelmed, then I know it's time, or it's probably past time.
But like that means you've done enough. Like you're already at your breaking point, and then you take a break. So maybe like just ways to do that before then would be great. But
exactly.
I don't do that right now, so good luck with that. But I get you. Like on the weekends, that's like either I'm trying to sleep in because I'm waking up early on the weekdays, or right after that, I'm like, okay, well, how can I get him outside for the day? What can we do? What can we, because like you said, this is their time. Because then I'm right back to work, so.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but I mean, waking up earlier than him would be great in theory. I'm not a morning person.
How
really.
early does he wake up?
Like 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like the earliest I could probably do is like 6.
Yeah.
And it's not enough time to like really wake up and maybe
it might be.
Yeah.
I think like it has to, and this is like the perfectionist in me, it has to like look exactly how I want to do it, or it's like either it's gonna look how I want it to look, or I'm not gonna do it at all.
Right.
Which that isn't great either. So I need to find some like in between in that, like even if it's just 15 minutes of silence. But to me, then I'm like, well, was that even satisfying? But I'm not doing it consistently enough to even know the answer.
Right.
So that's kind of like.
But again, hopefully that comes with like them getting older, and you're able to say like, okay, we woke up, like let me give you some breakfast, and now let's have like 20 minutes of quiet time.
Yeah.
So that like he could play and like he could sit there.
And I want that to be like I want him to do that too. Like I want him to eventually have his routine where he wakes up and he takes a moment for himself. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's asking too much of like a little kid, but I feel like we have these little, they're like beanie babies, sort of, I don't know, and they have different emotions on them. Okay. So there's like anger, confidence, like, and different things. And so I'm trying to just like, green means happy, red means bad. Like, and so we're kind of introducing it like that. Yeah, and so like, I just want him to kind of like be really emotionally intelligent, but just kind of understand how he's feeling and be able to voice that to us. I think he's pretty verbal. I feel like for a 1.5-year-old, like I'm really proud of the progress that he's made thus far. So I feel like introducing these things, like some parents are probably like, wow, he's really young to be doing that. But I feel like he's intellectual enough to kind of understand it. And so we're starting those things, and like, I don't know, hopefully it pays off.
I mean, I get it. Like I definitely try to introduce him to things. It's hard because social media, you just see like all these people being perfect and all these speech therapy things, and for me at first I was really worried about that, and Tay kind of took me back, and he's like, let him be a 1-year-old, like let him be a 2-year-old. Like I get, like if things happen, of course we would take those necessary steps, but right now he's so young that like just let him be. And I can say, since especially on the speech thing, because I've seen so many 1-year-olds talk and eating, he's learning words, but he's turning 2. So for me, I was so worried about that. But since I've let that go, I feel like he has learned a lot of words by just living life, like playing. You have a car, red car, push the car, That kind of thing has helped, because me stressing about it also took time away from teaching him and speaking to him and playing with him, So one thing I have learned is to just let them be children, let them learn at their own pace, because everybody's different, and just really, really just let them be,
I noticed that like Mario, he was just like excited about like all of the things that he could say or do, and like he can count to 10 and like all of these things that really excite him. So every time we would go out, Mario would be like 1, 2, and so he was doing it so like because he was just a proud dad, but I definitely like we kind of had to talk like the pressure, of him just having to talk in front of people might be a lot. Like he's 1, let's let him be a kid and play and stuff, and like he gets it. But he's also like, but I'm a proud dad. Like I want to show the world that my son can count to 10.
The kids are so funny. I feel like Aiden talks so much when we're at home, and then I get him and I'm like, say hi. He's like. I'm like, okay, whenever you're ready. Don't worry, he knows how to say it. Don't worry about it. It's like
the day we were out, and I was like, say thank you, and I was like, you know how to say this. We even do the sign. We know this.
Show them. Like they don't do it. When you want them to do it, they don't do it.
They're like, we're not show puppets.
We go on like our morning walk, and that's when like I have my hood on, no makeup on.
Don't want to talk to anybody.
It's like, hi. So yeah, they never do it when you want them to do it, but like just letting them be a kid and letting them learn. One thing I love watching Aiden do is like figuring something out.
Nice.
Love that. Like so whenever he's doing, he's just like, you know, trying to, and I just like let him be, you know. And it's like you can show him eventually, but just watching him figure things out is so interesting.
And sometimes it's hard though. So like he was on the playground and like I think maybe he was either walking up or down the stairs and like there's a step and then he could technically just like jump off if he wanted to, or he could go down the easier step and make his life easier, but he just like wanted to make it harder, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let him figure this one out, and now he knows, okay, let's go down the smaller step because I'm not about to jump off of this. But just watch and letting him do that, like let him be curious and feeling like I don't have to step in each time. I think is where he blossoms the most, and that's so exciting to watch.
They're a sponge, you know, and it's like, yeah, we can teach them everything, but they don't have to learn everything right then and there from our mouths, you know. One thing I do like in the bathtub, and it's like, I don't know, there's just so much pressure to be like, oh, this is water, this is, you know, I just let him be. In the bathtub, I'm like, play. You know, we have these like little boat things. I try not to say anything. You know, I let him fill it up and he pours it out. Like just have your fun, learn when things are full, but I don't have to be like, that's full now, pour it out, see the water, you know, and I used to be like that, but it's more of just like letting them explore on their own, and I get it, you know, and it's so easy to do that. Like I said, even when we play cars, and I started this one, like we play cars, and I'm like, oh, you have the yellow car, okay, yellow car, push the yellow car, it's rolling, you know, that kind of thing. But if you're doing that constantly, it's also overstimulating for them. They need a second to like, you know, soak it all in and like figure things out for themselves, you know. He sees water all the time. I'm like, you want some water? You know, so I don't have, when he's taking a bath, I don't have to be like, pour the water at it, or you're pouring the water at it, good job, you know. There's just like,
there's a time and place for it all.
But I get it, you know, being an excited, a proud parent, seeing them learn so much, seeing them grow so fast, like those are the kind of things that we just like naturally do.
Especially because you don't get those moments back, like, you know.
I just want to get older. I wrote down, I'm like, stay little, he's my little man.
I know, it definitely is. Like, I remember probably, before he could walk, I remember taking this picture of him like laying on my chest, and I was like, I get emotional every time. Me getting emotional.
Stop.
Just him laying on my chest, and he was taking a nap, and I was like, I know that moment's like, even that wouldn't last forever, because now like he won't even put his head down barely unless he's just exhausted. Like, so now it's like, even that is just that little milestone that's kind of gone, and like now he's just like up and doing his independent thing and is playing and all that stuff. So it's exciting. Like yesterday we went to the playground and he was playing with this group of boys that was much older than him, but he was just like, it's still kind of, you know, like, because I think he could tell that he was also like a 1-year-old and they're like 3, 4, and but he was just, they were screaming and he was like, like over here on the side, so him trying to like socialize and play, it's just, I don't know, it's all very exciting to like just see him grow and like become his own little person, and also know that like I'm doing a good job. I think to not to like, I don't know, sound cocky, but like I'm doing good. And just seeing those moments. It's so important to tell ourselves that, because I think you just get so wrapped up in the guilt and what you're not doing and what you could be doing in this moment. And it's important to like take a step back and be like, you know what, this child is alive, fed, healthy, surrounded by so much love. You know, like those are the things that they really need. And like, we try to give more. We do all we can. We're exhausting ourselves doing all that we can, and for some reason that's still not enough. You know, so sometimes it is important to be like, you know what, I'm doing good, and like that's okay. Like my best looks like this, and I'm happy with that. You know, so especially when he's just smiling and doing his thing, then I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. You know your baby. So what are some of, now being like a parent of almost 2? Well, he is 2 now. He just turned 2. Well, no, I mean babies.
Oh, almost 2 babies. Yeah. Gotcha.
Like, what are some of the expectations, I guess, you have of what that would look like, of what your reality will look like with 2 of them?
I mean, one thing I'm going into this with is no expectations, right? Because things change. I've learned that from the first time. Things are going to change. Nothing is going to go to plan, at least not exactly as how you planned it.
Yeah.
One part of me, like, letting go, calming down, especially right now, this is an important time for me to be like, you know, take a breath, you know, and not be worked up all the time. So one thing I'm trying to do is let go of expectations. But it's hard, of course. Like, I have anxiety. I mean, what is life gonna look like with 2, you know? Am I gonna give Aiden enough attention that he still needs and requires and be able to take care of another baby, you know? I'm constantly watching videos on YouTube and just seeing how other people are doing it and seeing, you know, talking to Tay, like, okay, well, how can we do this? Like, if you sleep here, then one of us could take Aiden, and you know, we'll get there, right? It's all about the experience. Just like we said, you know, as much as people can talk about it, nothing can really prepare you until, like, you just jump in.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm ready for. It's just the jump in, you know? So yeah, one thing I've learned, like, watching other women talk about, you know, how they are doing with their multiple children, they don't need these big moments that you want to give them. And it's fine if you can give them, like, okay, you know, if it's his birthday and we want to take him back to Disneyland and we can't do that with baby, then, like, okay, we'll take Aiden because, you know, that's a milestone.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need an outing every time to feel like, oh, he got some alone time. Like, maybe it's just, like, playing with him for 10 minutes, you know, or making sure, like, we sit and eat with him, or, you know, I mean, a couple things that I've seen that people are talking about is letting, one, not baby blaming, and then letting Aiden understand that, yes, you might have to wait a couple times right now, but baby will also have to wait. So what that looks like, and I haven't done it yet, so, but the practice on what that looks like is like, okay, you know, baby's crying, it's time to change a diaper. You don't want to be like, oh, Aiden, I can't play with you because baby's crying. It's, I want to play with you. I'll play with you in a few minutes. Let me just go change this diaper real quick, and then I'll play with you. Instead of blaming the baby for, like, this time that you can't do right now. And then letting him know, like, okay, you know, let me finish feeding him. You're just going to have to wait 1 second, and then I'll come over there and play with you. And then the same goes for baby. Like, I hear you. I'll be right over there. Let me just wrap up with Aiden over here so that he can see that, like, okay, both of them are compromising, you know?
Yeah. And then maybe it also, I mean, you know, take this with a grain of salt because I'm not pregnant, but but maybe it also looks like, I know Amario loves to help. Like, he loves putting trash in the trash can and all of these things. So maybe it also looks like, do you want to help me with the diaper? Like, you know, and just kind of helping him with those things too.
I do have faith in him. We just hung out with
I think he's gonna be a great big brother.
He'll be a great big brother. But we just hang out with his little cousin, and I was rubbing his back because he was crying. I'm like, it's okay, like, you'll be okay. And here comes Aiden, like, rubbing it. I'm like, gentle, but you want to rub your cousin's back? Like, go for it, you know? And yeah, I think he'll be great. We were at the zoo, and he was sitting on a little lion, and they were trying to put them next to each other for a picture, and Aiden's like, come on. And the difference is a 1 year difference. So his cousin just turned 1, Aiden just turned 2 on the same day. So that's awesome. But he did so well, and that was like, Ryan, I don't know what you're worried about. Like, he's gonna be a great big brother, and it's gonna be a learning curve for all of us. You know, Tay and I are transitioning to 2 kids. Aiden now transitioning to having a brother. You know, so it's gonna be a learning curve, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Oh, I'm so excited for all of you. Yeah, that's amazing. So what advice would you give to an expectant mom, or honestly just a mom in general, in relation to expectations? Like, yeah, what would you tell them?
I mean, I'll just repeat myself then, because the expectation, it's such a heavy word. You know, we put expectations on ourselves, we have expectations for our kids, we put expectations on how things should go, and then we're disappointed when they don't go that way. The best thing I could say is just let go of those expectations. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't have a vision of what you want things to look like. But if you set the bar so high, you're bound for disappointment. You know, like really give yourself grace, give yourself room to grow. We can't be expected to be, there's the expectation word again, to be pros at everything. Yeah. I'm a new mom and you want me to be perfect? That's my expectation. Yeah. You know, and I gave myself that expectation of like just being perfect. And it's like, why would I even think that I can step into these shoes and just be perfect off the bat? It takes practice, it takes mistakes, it takes learning. So the biggest thing I can say is give yourself grace, let yourself be, and drop the expectations. Every baby is different. Yeah. You know, I know your baby is a great eater and a hard sleeper. It's hard, you know, the sleep training. Yeah. Aiden is opposite. He has his 5 foods that he sticks to, but guess what? He sleeps through the night. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you have to just go with the flow, learn your child, learn what works for you and what doesn't, and really drop those expectations. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think I knew that I wasn't going to be a perfect mom. I think I also, in the way of saying like I'm going to make mistakes and I'm very much so okay with that. That's how I'm going to learn. I think the biggest thing for me was like making sure that I explained my mistakes to him, whether he understood them or not. Like, ooh, mommy got a little upset right there and I'm really sorry. So let's take a step back and let's just play with your cars or like whatever it is, and explaining it to him. Because I wanted to get in the habit of doing those things, whether he was like, right, exactly. You know? I think that's one thing, but also just knowing that, again, that I just wasn't going to be perfect and be okay with that. Also knowing that people were going to place expectations on me, and that could be family, that could be friends, whatever it is. And knowing that I didn't have to live in their expectations 100%. As well.
You have nothing to prove.
Yeah. You know? And so I know that like people with children, you know, people love to give advice, which is all great and dandy. But I think sometimes I'm like, well, I don't want to do it that way. Or I just want to do things differently, and that's exactly why I'm not listening, not to be rude, but like, you know. So I think making sure that I was also firm in the things that I believed that I wanted and the values that I wanted to instill in him, and making sure that I knew exactly what those were, because then it was easy for me to be like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I appreciate your advice and that it's okay that you give me that advice, but I don't necessarily want to do it that way and be okay with that, because I think sometimes as new moms you feel that pressure to be like, okay, like, yeah, maybe you do know best, or like you've done it before, maybe that is the correct way.
Especially in that presence. Yeah. That reminds me of a specific situation that always came up. So Aiden was a very antisocial baby, right? So he didn't like loud noises. It was just him in the house, and then we go over, you know, to family, and like both our families are very loud. They like loud music, they like clapping and celebrating, which is great, you know. But Aiden would always be scared of that, and he's like, you know, and sometimes he's crying. So like Tay and I are stepping outside to give him a little break. And no matter where we went, everyone was like, oh, just let him be. Oh, just let him, you know, or if somebody wanted to hold him, like, oh, I'll hold him, and he's like literally crying. And they're like, oh, but he'll be okay. He has to get used to me. For me, that was a big thing. For Tay and I, we were like, no, like, if this is a new child who has not seen any of this in the world,
who's barely getting used to me as his mom.
Of course, everything's overwhelming.
Exactly.
The last thing I want him to do is be uncomfortable, you know, or feel like we're gonna put him in uncomfortable situations because he'll be okay. No, you know. So we always made it a point to stand our ground. No, you cannot hold him if he's crying. If you reach out and he goes, that's different. Okay, you know, you can go to him. But if he's like backing up and he's scared of you, I'm not gonna give him to you, because clearly he's uncomfortable. Why would I do that? You know, he needed time to, like, if things are too overstimulating and too loud, we'll step back, you know, and let him calm down a bit, and then we'll try it again. And then we'll step back and we'll try it again, you know. And now I think that's paid off. Now he's been doing very well, you know, and it took some time, but that's only natural.
And what have you had to have uncomfortable conversations like that?
100%. I mean, so I don't love confrontation. I don't think I know anyone that's like, yeah, it's a confrontation. So what I mainly try to do is take a step back. Like even if someone's talking to me, like, oh no, I'm just gonna like over here.
Yeah.
It mainly looks like that. Rather than like, he doesn't want to be held by you. And they're like, oh, love me. I'm like, he doesn't want that. It's like, it's more like, oh, okay, like I hear you, but I'm just gonna go over here for a second, So it's mainly like that and just like taking a step back.
Yeah.
It's not like necessarily like arguing with anyone, but I do stand my ground, Same like at a restaurant, Aiden didn't want to stay in the seat and he wanted to be held. I remember everyone like, you need to put him down. Like he'll get used to it. And I'm like, he doesn't want to be put down right now. Like I'm just gonna hold him.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of smiling.
I know people told me a lot, like when he was born, like don't hold him all the time. He'll want to be held, which was true, 100%. Yeah. But I wanted to, like we talked about in the beginning, like I wanted to start really developing that kind of like attachment, not just for him, but also for myself.
Yeah.
So holding him brought me a lot of comfort too, but also it did make him like a little like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a clingy, but that clinginess, like I felt like was us developing a relationship, and that's what it looks like for us. Now for other people even, well still now, like he just wants to be held, Well, honestly, because we have a great relationship, he has a positive and like,
he knows that with his parents he's safe. Why is that a bad thing?
100%.
I'm scared, I want to be held by my mom. Your mom is right here, I'm gonna hold you.
Exactly. And I feel like that is like a huge stigma. Like, you shouldn't be holding him all the time. He's gonna develop like an attachment to you.
Like that's
exactly what I want. I want it to be positive. I don't want him to just have this separation anxiety, But like, I also know that when I leave him with my family and things like that, he feels safe now too. Right. So it's like, I know.
But there's nothing wrong with his parents and his home being the safe haven.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when you come home from a long day, you're like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah.
Why can't he feel that way?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I felt a little bit too about, I don't know if you guys did this, but like sleeping bed sharing. That one was hard for me because, I was fine with him sleeping in our bed.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I like to cuddle. He probably wants to cuddle. Like that's okay.
I was really against it in the beginning. I was really against it. I was like, oh my gosh, people who put their babies in the bed, like, and more so because I thought like you would just roll over and crush them. And I heard so many stories about that, and I was like, that's a horrible idea. And I think there was just one night where I was like, I can't move. Like I'm so tired. Like in that first few months, you're like, no, seriously.
I get that too.
Get up again. And so it was really just that is what led to me finally being like, okay, he might have to come to the bed real quick. And I think after that, it kind of just progressively kept happening. But getting him out was hard. So I will say, and people still say it, like, don't let them. Like, I think I still agree with that sentiment. I think if I could go back and figure out how to not bed share, I probably would do it. I feel like
I would still do it. I mean, honestly, so how we do it is like during the daytime, if he's napping in his own bed. Okay. And for me, that kind of works because at least he's still familiar with his own bed. But like right now, if I put him down and he falls asleep in his bed, but for some reason he wakes up in the middle of the night, he's going to our bed. And he wakes up in the morning in our bed. Like that's just what it is. And a lot of people tell me don't do that, and I get it. But again, I think the older that they get, you can start explaining things to them. Like, no, we're gonna try to sleep in your bed tonight. It's like, this is your bed, this is mom's bed, that kind of thing. But right now, I just feel like he wakes up and he wants us, and like that doesn't mean, oh, hold me and put me down. That's just more like, hey, he's very like touchy. Like he'll roll over just as long as he can feel you.
Yes, that is for sure.
So I'm like, okay.
But do you think that has played any role on like the dynamics between you and Tay? Like just kind of like having your own space, like that being your thing, but well, now there's a baby in the middle. Like, do you think that has made any change or transition into?
I don't know. I think more of, like I said, he starts in his bed. Mm-hmm. So we still, and then, you know, he doesn't come to our bed till like 2, 3 in the morning. We're both sleeping anyway. So it's like, it's not that big of a deal to us.
Yeah. You guys have been together forever. So.
We've been together forever, you know, so we make it work.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think sometimes when I am like, okay, you're like literally kicking me in the neck, I can't sleep, I'll put him in his bed, and then that's just that. Like, but it's not like a noticeable factor, and it's nothing like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think it has for us, and maybe that's why I feel the way I feel, because I definitely think there's a baby in the middle, and it is a little hard for us to like just kind of like be in our own little space.
Okay.
He definitely gets kicked in the neck a lot, or in the face and the nose and all the things. And sometimes Mario will like sleep on the couch, like he'll leave our bed just so that Amari can like stay asleep or be comfortable and things like that. And I'm like, I miss my man. Like when he wakes up and I'm like, where'd he go? So I think those little moments are kind of like, I don't know, like important and sweet. So I think I miss those. And so like when he's in the bed, I'm like, okay, well I guess it's just me and my baby tonight, you know. So that makes a little bit of a difference.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Okay. How has your relationship changed or even improved or any of those things, like because you're a mom now and because you're parents now? Like how has it made it better? How has it changed? Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think it's a challenge. It's one thing, I mean, so many things changed for us in the same year. We got married, we had Aiden, all in the same year. So already it's like, well, now I'm learning to be a wife and I'm learning to be a mom all at the same time. The biggest thing for us is communication. Of course, we have to be transparent with each other, and it's taken time, and honesty, transparency, communication is a skill. You know, so we've definitely had those times where we're frustrated for no reason, and we have to talk about, well, what's wrong, you know, that kind of thing, or just learning how to navigate a new personality. That's been challenging. But I think Tay and I have a great dynamic. Like, we really understand each other, and we understand like the compromise. You know, we talk about the sharing of responsibilities. We talk about, you know, we take cues from each other on when we need a break. I think that helps a lot. And, you know, not every day is great. You have good days and you have bad days, like any relationship. But I think that makes us stronger, you know, and the more we work through things, the more we talk about things, and I think the more we are understanding of each other, that helps us grow, that helps us bond. You know, there's always going to be those times that we don't agree, and it's just like agreeing to disagree, you know, or being like, you know what, I understand where you're coming from, and it's just going to have to, we'll leave it at that, you know. But I think, we had a great dynamic before, that's why we got married, you know. Definitely adding a baby into that has challenged our patience, has challenged just every aspect of, like, you know, it was easy before with just us to be like, oh, I'm just gonna go in the other room, and now it's like, well, somebody has to watch him, you know. So, like, you know, like you can't just up and leave, you know. So we definitely have worked on our communication, and he's super supportive, and that's amazing to say, and that's amazing to have. I love that Aiden has Tay as a role model. I think he's a great role model for him. So I think for us, I think we were already kind of a new relationship, and we really just, you know, sped past a lot of the steps, and we were just like, let's have a baby. No, I'm just kidding. But like, really, we did kind of like speed through a lot of things. So I felt like there was a little bit of like still getting to know each other that was still happening. While then also being new parents and like having to learn this little human. So
one thing I always commend you on is like y'all systems. Y'all got systems in place, and like I think that's something that we're still working on and like we're trying to figure out. But I also think that like with the communication, one thing I can commend us on is that we will communicate and then we'll try to learn from that.
Right.
And I think our growth out of those communications and things and conversations that we're having is like the best part for me. Like that for our ability to like take accountability, but then also just like know we need space. Because I think when we first got together, space was not an option. At least, especially for me. Like we're gonna talk about this right now. I don't care how mad you are, and if it blows up, that's what it's gonna be. And I think we now realize like, okay, you need your space, I need my space, and like taking that time and just like learning each other more. I think being able to grow in the space of like it's not just us, it is everything we do. Like Amari is seeing, and I think when we can kind of come from that place of like, well, how would I want Amari to react? And maybe that's a lot of pressure to like put on our communications, but I think it helps us. I think it helps us understand why we're doing all the things that we're doing, why we want to communicate the way we want to communicate, because I genuinely want to see him model that.
Right.
And so once we do that, I feel like, well, why are we doing this? Like, well, why are we having this disagreement? Like what, and kind of how can we compromise and all of those things? Like once we have those conversations, I think we're able to grow and then it's beautiful and our relationship continues to, you know, flourish in the way that I want it to, the way that we want it to. So
I mean, you have to always push each other to do that, to be better, you know? A lot of times when I disagree with Tay, or like when he has just an idea that I'm like questioning, I'm like, well, run me by that. Like I hear you saying that, but like what's your thought process? Like, you know, and like not even our family, how I mentioned like, oh, okay, he didn't want to be away from Aiden. I'm like, I don't have a problem with it, so why do you? You know, like let's talk about that. And then either I can get on the same page, you know, and now we move forward from there, or we can talk about it deeper and, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, definitely talking, understanding each other, it takes a lot. And, you know, the systems that we have now have all been from growing, experiencing, and learning. You know, for example, our chores and stuff, we do, for the most part, stick to, you know, our chores. Tay sees that I'm waking up early every day of the week during the week, so on Saturday or Sunday, most of the time he's up before Aiden and I are up washing clothes, and then they're just done. And then, you know, sometime during the weekend I put on my show and I fold the clothes and I put it away. But it's so nice to not have to wake up first thing in the morning and like worry about laundry. Like most of the time he has that done. And I can say, especially since being pregnant, he stepped up a lot. Like there was a time when I couldn't even be in our kitchen because the smell would literally make me nauseous. You know, and he would step up and cook and do whatever we needed, and you know, he just, we get that. We definitely like listen to each other, take cues from each other, and we make sure to appreciate each other. You know, like last night he cooked. I'm like, thank you so much for cooking. I know I didn't have to do that, but like, thank you for doing that, because you also don't have to do that, you know? So
I think that goes such a long way. Like I think sometimes even our expectations of our partners is like, well, of course you do that. Like we're partners. Like, yeah, of course. But I think when they go out of their ways to go above and beyond of like, you know, like, dang, like acts of service has never used to be my love language, but as a parent, acts of service, like, wow, that really gets a girl going. Because like now you're taking something off of my plate, so now I can spend more time with you, or my focus can be somewhere different, or I can spend more time with myself, and you know. So I feel like that is the biggest thing that you can do. Like you can take something off of like a mother's plate and just like let her have time to do whatever it is.
And just always remember to thank your partner, you know, because I just hear so many stories of like people being on their own. I couldn't imagine having to raise Aiden on my own, you know. So even the small things, even, you know, just being there, and like if I physically can't hold him, but you're here with me and you can, thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring to take care of the child, because everybody is not like that. 100%. Everybody does not have that. Everybody does not care, you know. So the little things, and like,
and it's like you don't, I mean, realistically, like they don't have to to be here. They chose to be here. And to make that decision to then be able to not only support me as your partner, but then to support our child is a big deal. Because like you said, not everyone does it. So I think, just being able to thank them and just like, I don't know, just that appreciation goes such a long way. Because you don't know you don't always know what type of day that or something that was said to that person to make them feel a type of way when they get in the house. So immediately when like you use the example, like you always have like a pack of beer, waiting for him in the refrigerator, like that's that little thing to be like, babe, I got you. Like,
and he loves it. Like that's a small thing that I can do. And he comes home, he opens the freezer, he sees the ice cold beer in there after a long day, and he goes,
like my girl got me.
And it's such a small thing for me to do, but I know it goes a long way, and I want him to feel appreciated because, just like I get tired, he gets tired. Just like I get sick, he gets sick. Just like, so it's like, it's definitely the little things that you can do every day to support, to be there, to understand that like you guys are a team. It took two to create, and it should not be on one person than to take care, like our household is our household together. Our child is our child together. Nothing should be on one person. And I think luckily with Tay, he definitely supports me way more than I could even thank him for. So if that means I get up to put a beer in the freezer, as small as that is, then I will do that every day for him, so that's a wrap.
Tune in next time as we dive into another taboo topic where we will be breaking the silence, embracing the uncomfortable, and transforming lives, one taboo talk at a time. Bye, lovelies.
Bye.